Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me as I share with you how to organize a spice cabinet. So I was very fortunate to have someone that allowed me to come into their kitchen to organize their spice cabinet. So what I'm going to do for you today is actually show you the items that I picked up to organize the cabinet, show you the process I went through as far as picking out what to keep and what to trash, and then reveal the new organized spice cabinet. So I hope you enjoy.
Picked up these large non-skid shelf organizers from Bed Bath & Beyond for only $7.99. I picked up these spice jars from Big Lots. They were only 95 cents, so I grabbed 8 of those. I also have these 4-ounce dry herb jars that I picked up from Walmart. They were only $4.47 a package. Each package includes the glass mason jars with the shaker lids, as well as a label you can use to personalize each jar. Since there are only 4 in each package, I decided to pick up 5 packages because I knew I had a lot of spices and herbs to transfer and store. Speaking of mason jars, I also picked up this package of 12 quart-sized mason jars. These were only $9.94 from Walmart, and I wanted everything to match, so I purchased these herb shaker lids for the mason jars that I purchased so they can match the smaller mason jars as well. Each package has 2 in them. They were only 75 cents, so I picked up 4. And last, I have this 3-piece container set that I picked up from Burlington Coat Factory for only $9.99. So now let's take a look at the cabinet before organization. As you can see here, there are lots of spices in this cabinet, and it's a pretty large space for a spice cabinet. So I think the larger space allowed for it to be easier to lose spices. So when you're looking for one particular spice and you can't find it, as opposed to moving stuff around to find it, I'm thinking what happened is, in this case, they purchased more spices. And as the spices accumulated, there was no organization to the items. Also, you can see some unrelated items found their way into the cabinet. Now, this cabinet here is a second cabinet that actually housed some overflow of the spices and oils. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to organize these 2 cabinets. So to get everything organized, I started by removing all of the items from each of the cabinets. There were a lot of spices, but I wanted to have a clean workspace, so everything had to be removed from all of the cabinets. I placed all of the items in baskets and then moved the baskets to the table so I could have more workspace. As I looked at all these items, I really became overwhelmed, but I pushed my way through and I started to actually decide what I wanted to keep and what I wanted to trash. The way I decided if I was going to trash something was pretty much if it was expired, it immediately went into the trash. If it contained MSGs or some other weird ingredients, I also trashed it. I went to work on the second basket. I decided to put the stuff that I decided to keep in that basket and continue to trash those things I did not want to keep. That is a lot of trash there. Now, this trash can was completely empty when I started, but as you can see, it is pretty much full at this point. So next, I pulled everything out of my keep basket just to go back through and make sure that I really wanted to keep the items. And as you can see, some of the stuff, as I went back through it, I decided that it needed to be trashed. I used my label maker to create the labels to place on each of the spice jars, and I went ahead and placed them on each of the jars. Now I'm ready to transfer my spices to the jars. So for these smaller jars, I went ahead and just used a paper towel and created like a funnel to transfer the spices that way. For the medium jars, I simply just poured the spices and herbs directly into the jar. I didn't need to use a funnel or anything. And then I just screwed the little lids on top and they were good to go. Now for the quart-sized mason jars, I went ahead and removed the lid that came on them. And I chose to put the seasonings that had a larger amount in their containers into these jars. And once I filled up the container, I took the lids that I purchased separately. and put them on the jar, and as you can see they fit perfectly, and now I have my little shaker top on my mason jar. Next, I transferred some items over to the 3-piece canister set that I purchased. Here is the seasoned flour that was originally in the cabinet. It was like in some plastic thing, so I decided to put that in here and transfer some flour and some cornmeal. Now it's time to place the labeled and spice-filled jars into the cabinet. I decided to put the larger and or least used items on the top shelf. And next I went ahead and put the shelf organizers on the bottom row, and then went ahead and placed the spice jars there. Now these smaller spice jars contain items that were in small containers at the beginning. So these were things like ground mustard that aren't used very often, and so they didn't need a very big jar. These 4-ounce mason jars were things that were in your standard size seasonings, so they did need a little bit larger container. I placed the items based off of type as well as how they're used. So like that back row back there, I think is like a lot of dry herbs. The front row will contain stuff like seasoning salt or garlic powder and things like that. So that's going to be something that's used often. Next, I placed the remaining items such as the oils, vinegar, and extracts in this second cabinet. So here's a shot of the before. Now, as you can see, it's not horrible, but it could definitely use a makeover. And here's the after. It is clean, simple, and organized. My goal in this makeover project was to make this spice cabinet really functional and easy to use. I also wanted to allow room for growth, so I didn't want every nook and cranny to be filled with spices, because of course as time goes on the need for spices may change.
So I hope you enjoyed my recommendation on how you can organize your spice cabinet. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe, and that way you'll be in the know whenever I post new videos. I thank you so much for your support, and have a great day. Bye!